Hi, I'm Jason. This is Chicago Mastering Service. You know, realistically, including the suburban area, I know of about maybe 4 places besides us. Not counting like studios that sort of do mastering in their control room. Just purpose-built rooms, or at least, you know, purpose-optimized rooms or whatever. And I don't know why there's not a lot of that going on here. That was what, you know, that was definitely what drove us into this, just feeling like, man, in New York there's 136 mastering places, and here there's like 4 or something, you know. And yeah, we just felt like there wasn't a lot of people, I don't know, it's sort of a generational, not a generational thing, but kind of a generational slash background, musical background kind of an issue, where we just felt like there wasn't a lot of people here who were really from the same sort of large music community that we were from, and we just felt like it would be easier to empathize properly with people and to understand what their goals were based on the fact that we kind of came up around here just knowing a lot of people and what their musical proclivities are, and you know, you just sort of feel like you have this clientele that you can really understand, and it didn't seem, you know, it seemed like there was just certainly room for another facility. I'd done a handful of sort of budget mastering jobs for people out of my house when they just were like, I'm not going somewhere else, I don't have any money, blah, blah, blah. And so that, you know, I had a little bit of experience doing that, but primarily Bob and I both felt that it was pretty valuable to come from a background of recording, mixing, you know, in that we both gone to mastering sessions for years and years with clients and sat in and tried to be an advocate for the recording, you know, as we understood it or whatever. And what we sort of realized, at least, is that more important than a lot of technical expertise and stuff, which is not unimportant, but it's something that, you know, most people can acquire, but the thing that you can't necessarily acquire as easily is simply the decision making of what seems like the right move to make, you know. And a lot of the things that led me to pursue this were just bad experiences with mastering, where I would go in and the person would just be doing all these things that I just felt like, oh no, 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 you know, like why does that seem like the right thing to do, you know, like, and in a number of cases, usually when I would finish a record historically with people, I would make them a little sort of faux mastered, I would call it quasi-mastered CD, where I would just sort of limit the high peaks of the material and do a little bit of EQ to try to balance it all out, and I would, you know, sequence it into a nice little disc so people could just kind of not freak out when they go and listen to their mixes and they're like, it's 12 dB quieter than my record that I like to listen to, or, you know, so just something for people to sort of listen to. And I, you know, and I would certainly endeavor to not like do something so dramatic that was going to really ruin them for mastering or something. It was just usually very gentle stuff that just made it kind of listenable. And, you know, in a number of cases, we'd go into a mastering session and all this stuff would get done to the mixes. And after a number of back and forths, they would just be just saying, why can't it just sound like the thing that you made? Because that actually sounds the best, you know? And I would just think, well, I did almost nothing to that, you know? It was just a few very critical little fixes, you know? And, you know, so that just sort of started leading me to believe, like, maybe I could, you know, maybe I could do this, because I, you know, another thing is that the mastering engineer, there's a mastering engineer in Austin that I used to go to for years with a lot of records I did, and he just had a very light touch. He you know, he did not. It wasn't just like, wait till I get my hands on this stuff, you know. It was just sort of like, you know, he'd just make a tiny little and sometimes be like, I think that's good, you know. And so I sort of took that philosophy to heart, and I think it's, you know, I think most people that are good mastering engineers tend to follow a less is more philosophy.